We've got a bumper show coming your way on Inside the NRL. There's blood in the water in the Shire as the Sharks start to circle John Morris. Brad Fittler joins us to talk all things rugby league as Jerome Luai continues his push for a Blues berth. And Tigers fans turn on their own. But where to next for Michael Maguire's men? Hello, welcome to Inside the NRL. 5 weeks into the 2021 season. Upsets galore across the weekend. Manly and Cowboys enjoyed their first win, while the Dragons, they continue their charge into the top four. I'm Zach Bailey, joined once again by 2010 Premiership winner with the Dragons, Jamie Soward, Sydney Morning Herald's Michael Chalmers.
Wasn't it former Panthers player last year? All of a sudden it's 2010 Dragons Premiership winner.
I'll tell you what, whatever Soward touches turns to gold, but it's time to find out what left egg on Michael and Jamie's face. There we go, the little bobble dolls there with egg.
The Cowboys left egg on my face. I wrote them off last week, got stuck into them in the previews. They looked really disjointed. I didn't think they would win a game for another month or so, but they came out there, big occasion, rose to the occasion more than the home side, and I was really happy to see them throw the ball around. I thought that sort of style, that looser style, has actually suited them, so they left egg on my face this week.
What about you, Chamis?
I'm going to throw the egg this week.
Is that allowed?
You're egging someone.
Yeah, I caught the egg. It's very Western Sydney of me. I think that the egg is on the...
I won't cop that.
Well, I'm from there.
As voice of the West.
Yeah, well, that's okay. That's okay. Listen, speaking of the West, I think the egg is on the face of the Bulldogs. When Matt Burton scores the try, we've got vision, I hope, of Matt Burton scoring on the weekend, and he grabs the badge. Now, I'm not saying anything that he's going to stay at Penrith, because he can't. He's not staying at Penrith. But look at this. I'm sure they would have loved that at Penrith, and Canterbury thinking, yeah.
That does not look like a kid that wants to leave early at the potential of possibly winning a championship.
No, that's fair. And I'll tell you what, for a playmaker who looks mighty fine in the centres for the Panthers at the moment, as I said a minute ago, the Dragons, they've won 4 straight. They are flying. I was out of Bankwest Stadium yesterday and we got some exclusive vision of a staff member from the Dragons leaving the stadium. Here he is, strutting his way out of Bankwest. I'll tell you what, I've never seen you in a better mood, Sowie, than yesterday afternoon. Conor McGregor strutting it all.
Very good. No, it was an impressive performance by the Dragons. It's a tough place to play at Bankwest. Beautiful stadium, even out there pre-game. I really enjoyed the atmosphere and the crowd coming in. But the boys, they've scrapped and scraped the 4 wins in a row. I don't think that we've played our best footy, but we controlled the footy last night, made it hard for Parramatta and had a big win.
The critics were well and truly out before the start of the season, especially after their Charity Shield loss to the Rabbitohs. What's the belief like compared to back then?
Yeah, the Charity Shield was a public, probably a chance for everyone to have a dig at us, and everyone tipped us to come last after that. But with inside the Dragons, dressing room, and those players have worked really, really hard, and I think they put their egos aside and they've opened themselves up to new ideas, and the coaching staff and Anthony Griffin, and they've worked hard for each other. They've put the final product out in the field by working hard for each other and not listening to outside pressure. As the season starts to go now, they're on the radar. Big game this week against the Warriors.
Michael, you were one of the critics. There's been many among us.
Since when?
Since day one, when Sowie sat right here for our first show of the year. But the big question now is, they're in the top 4 after 4 straight wins. It's a long year. Can they finish in the top 8?
Well, that's the goal. I don't think they're a top 4 football team. They've done well to get there, but I think they are a top 8 footy team. And the way Matt Duft is playing at the moment, I think he's off contract at the end of the year. He's been sensational for the Dragons. I definitely think this is a top 8 football team. And that is why we've been so angry, Sowie, the last few years, is because the roster has been good enough to play finals football, and they haven't delivered. So we get to this point now where they're playing to their potential, and even without Ben Hunt. And am I surprised? Yes, but should they be playing this ball? They've got some good players in that football team. We're not at a level where the West Tigers are, or the Cowboys, where they're trying to rebuild. They have some good players in that football team, and I think they are a realistic shot at the top 8.
And they've just added another good player to their roster. He's a Maroons Australians representative in Josh Maguire. There's reports this afternoon that deal is done. Sowie, what does he add to this Dragons outfit?
I think it's a great signing. I mean, I was critical of Josh and the way that he and they handled that situation at North Queensland. But what it does now, it allows Tyrell Fuimayano to empty the tank a lot quicker and still have some foot speed in the middle. I thought last night the three big forwards that came on, Alvaro, Cade Ellis and Trent Merrin, did fantastic. But in a game that's only getting faster, I think a lot of experience in the middle of the ruck and that foot speed will certainly add to the depth at the Dragons. It's a key signing, I reckon.
All right, plenty of news around the Dragons, even more news surrounding the Cronulla Sharks. Michael Chammas had in his Sydney Morning Herald article yesterday that John Morris is all but on the way out at the end of this year, with Craig Fitzgibbon, the Roosters assistant, agreeing to coach him next year. What's the latest today? We believe there's been a meeting between John Morris and the club.
Yeah, there was a meeting this morning between John Morris, the club, and his manager in regards to John's future going forward. Off contract at the end of the year. I don't think John Morris will be there next year. Now, the club has said differently. They said he's still in pole position to be in charge of the Sharks in 2022. I find that astounding, to be honest with you, because all my mail suggests that Craig Fitzgibbon is all but done for next year. And if the Sharks are leading John Morris down this path, I think it's poor form. I think if they've made their mind up already, and which, to be fair, Craig Fitzgibbon is a long way down the track. We're talking coaching staff down the track. I think it's poor taste in what they're doing to John Morris, leaving him to believe that he's still a chance.
All right, well, Morris has had his hands tied when it comes to recruitment, salary cap issues, not a lot of money there to spend. He's only recruited the likes of Jesse Ramian back to the club and Aidan Tolman. So that has meant that he's had to blood a lot of youngsters who have played less than 50 games. Let's take a look at some of the players that have made it into the grade and have performed pretty well. Jack Williams, Braden Hamlin-Ueli, Britton Nakora, Blake Brayley, Sione Katoa had a couple of games before he arrived, Ronaldo Mortalo, Sifa Talakai, Toby Rudolph, Will Kennedy, Billy Magoulias Sowie. He's done what a lot of other experienced coaches, like Michael Maguire with the Tigers, has struggled to do. He's won a premiership. So is the treatment of John Morris over the last 6 months, especially now, unfair or justified?
I think it's justified to a certain degree. He inherited a pretty good roster, a team that was top 8 capable. I think Michael Maguire and the West Tigers are a long way off where the Sharks and their squad is. That the question that comes back time and time again is, are they getting any better? They have great wins. They were fantastic against the Cowboys for 60 minutes the other night. They were great against the Roosters, but are they getting any better to the point where they're going to be able to compete for a title in 2 or 3 years? That's the question that you start looking for. They made the 8 last year by not beating a top 8 team, so that's where the questions start to come in, because if you've reached your ceiling, and I was critical of Anthony Griffin at the Penrith Panthers, is they got to a ceiling. If that's the ceiling right there for the team, how can you keep trying to re-sign the coach if they've reached their ceiling already? They need someone to come in over the top and put the finishing touches on. It happens in professional sport everywhere.
Chammas, if it was Craig Bellamy, you'd expect him to come in there and take them to the next level. But is Craig Fitzgibbon an upgrade?
I think Craig Fitzgibbon is, by all reports, and renowned in the game as the next best one, ready to go. He's ready to go. He's been in the system with the Roosters. You couldn't have asked for a better apprenticeship, right? He's served under Trent Robinson for 10 years at the Roosters. He's obviously played at the Roosters and been part of a winning culture. He's ready to go. If anyone's going to go in there and succeed in terms of a rookie coach, then he's the right man. However, I get the argument what you're coming with here, Zach, is there is no guarantee. You're not hiring someone here who's got the runs on the board. But we've seen with the West Tigers, they've hired someone with runs on the board and it didn't work. So perhaps they're looking at Justin Holbrook and
they were in a lot of bad contracts, though, the Tigers then. The Sharks right now, Craig Fitzgibbon comes in with a potential blank canvas to get rid of some of those back-ended contracts, plus try and sign some new guys and be on the improve straight away. I think when a coach comes in to a bad club, which is what happens because the top clubs don't sack their coach, they inherit a roster. They might not want 10 of those guys. So it takes time to get rid of those. Craig Fitzgibbon comes in 14 guys off contract, I think they've got. Yeah. So he's got a lot of money to be able to spend the years coming forward. Unfortunately for John Morris, he hasn't had that luxury. All right, one of those players off contract at the moment is Sean Johnson. He's out injured at the moment, but he joined Sunday night with Matty Johns on Fox League.
I look at the facts, bro. I don't know how you can have a coach that has been thrown in the deep end right from the start. Had to take over a difficult situation with Flanagan leaving. Just got after it, taken his side to the finals the last couple of years, and then find himself in the position that he's in right now. It's it's certainly disappointing. He hasn't had any control over the roster. He's been in a situation where our cap's been shot the last couple of years, and he's just made do with what he's got, and he's got us all on board. So I genuinely can't speak highly enough of him.
That is courtesy of Fox League. Sowie, how will this current situation around the coach affect those 14 players that are off contract and whether they want to re-sign with the club?
Well, you can say you're in for the team. It's a business. It's easy to be saying that now, and they've got a lot of people off contract. But if a contract is sitting in front of you that will secure your long-term future, you think about yourself first. I don't care what anyone says, and that will be the situation with those 14 guys. You're not going to take less to stay, because of the new coach. It'll be up to the new coach, and I think the quicker that they get that done, they'll be able to sit down with those guys and say, look, we're not, trashing what John Morris has done. It's been fantastic what he's been able to do, but making the finals year after year isn't successful. You've got to be able to be competing for championships. Otherwise, the pressure is always going to be on you, like it is on the other 15 teams that don't win the comp every year.
Michael, should Craig Fitzgibbon be concerned with the way they've treated John Morris before he goes there?
I think there are people trying to convince Craig Fitzgibbon that he should be concerned. I think that he's been looking at this for months now. And I think he's done all his homework around the juniors, the pathways, and he thinks it's the right job for him, the salary cap situation. Should he be concerned with the way the club's handled it? Yeah, sure, because I don't think it's been handled very well at all by the Sharks, what they've done to John Morris.
OK, so let's look forward a couple of weeks. If they announce that Craig Fitzgibbon will take over next year, should they just bring him in this year?
No.
He won't leave.
The mid-season one you won't do. He's committed to the Roosters, and what it would do is if he comes in and they don't perform up to standard with all those guys with contract stuff going on, then he's tarnished straight away going into next year. So he'll start fresh in the off-season, get his signings done, and then hit the ground running in 2022. OK, while we're on the topic of coaches, no better person to bring in than Blues coach, New South Wales coach Brad Fittler. Freddie, thanks so much for joining us on Inside the NRL. We're just talking about one of your long-term teammates. He's part of your Blues coaching staff in Craig Fitzgibbon. Why would he make a good NRL coach?
Well, it's yet to be seen, but I assume he's going to. He works very hard. He knows the game back to front. He loves the game. He's got an affiliation with the Cronulla area. He lived there for a long time while he played for the Roosters, so he knows a lot about the fans and the supporters there. He's done his apprenticeship under Robbo, most probably one of the best in the business, so he knows what coaching's all about, how it's not just about what you're doing on the field and what you're doing on game day, but everything else that goes into it. So I've got to say, there's not many other people that I'd say I'd trust more than taking on a first-grade role than Craig Fitzgibbon.
Freddie, you're very close to him, obviously, over a long period of time. Do you think he wants this role?
Absolutely. He's been sitting under Robbo now for, how long? 6, 7, 8 years? And you don't do that unless you want to coach. And I think he's got to the stage where the right job come up. I think there were some other options last year, and he decided against them, and I think wisely. And it shows a lot of maturity and a lot of faith in yourself as well, just to wait for the right job, because they just don't come up all that often.
Freddie, the form of Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary, impressive on Friday night. How important is that combination going to be in your selection for State of Origin this year?
Yeah, they're fantastic. I'm loving the way they're playing. There's sort of their own style. And I don't think it's just them, though. I think their whole team contributes mostly better than every other team in the competition at the moment. I think if you look at their team, they've got one bloke, James Fisher-Harris, who plays in New Zealand. There's not another Australian or New Zealand rep or England rep in their team. So it says they're getting a lot out of the players on the field, and their halves are setting up the game and also taking opportunities when they're on. They're very great to watch, actually, at the moment, Penrith. Great to watch.
Is there a possibility that that whole left edge for New South Wales could be Luai, Crichton, maybe Brian To'o?
Yeah, well, Brian's played both sides, so I think Josh Addo-Carr's still doing a good job. I think Fergo's playing okay at the moment. There's a few wingers there that are still doing well, so I'm sort of not going to use Penn at the moment when I'm thinking about my team. Everything's up in the air still, but I've got to say the Penrith blokes, just the way they work for each other. I like a team that does that and not just wait for the big moments. So I really enjoy watching them play, and I think when you watch teams that you like, it says that's something about your coaching style, I think. So I think over time you'll definitely see a lot of Penrith players represent.
Freddie, I know you don't want to pen anything in right now, but I'm sure at the end of last year you would have had Ryan Papenhuyzen penned in for that 14 spot, got injured in the grand final. Is that 14 jersey his to lose the way he's playing at the moment?
you'd nearly think so. I think the fact is he played nearly a full season coming off the bench and playing 5'8", playing lock, playing wherever he had to. And just reading the story that Billy Slater spoke about his attitude last year and how he approached Billy and said, well, how can I get in this side? And Billy said, well, do whatever you have to do. And that's what he did. And now you're just seeing the results of someone who's just worked really hard. He obviously studies the game because no one goes to the line in the Melbourne team, and if they offer the ball up, he's not there. He knows every single player in his team, what they can do. So, been very impressive rise, and the way he handles it's also incredibly impressive as well. So, but the key is, I think, that he's played that position before and did an incredible job coming off the bench, playing any position he had to. It was interesting talking to him about it, how he's saying sometimes if they didn't have that ball for those first couple of minutes, if it was in the middle, it cooked him really quick. So I think there's a few tactics around if you're going to use him there.
Freddie, I've been impressed with Sam Walker in the first couple of weeks, but that 20 minutes to finish the game the other night when all the chips were in the middle, have you seen any better than that? How good is this kid?
He's a bit like you, I thought, Sowie. I remember watching you come through and you weren't that big, but you knew footy. And I think he's exactly the same. He's obviously a kid who's just played footy since he was a kid. He's watched footy. His father's a footy player. His uncles are footy players. And you can see that in his game. I love those long passes because the way outside defenders defend, they don't think. They just come up and they've pre-selected who they're going to tackle. And Sam's done his homework, obviously, and just picks them out every time. So it's a bit of tactics and also skill in that, not to throw it too hard. It's going to go over their head. So a little bit of physics. I think Sam must have done physics at school, just working on the loft of the ball. But sorry, boys, I lost my headphone. I was getting excited with the loft. But yeah, he reminded me a bit of you, Sowie. Just a young kid who just knows a lot about the game, knows where to kick, when to kick, how to support people. I think he's got a big future.
He faces his biggest test of his short career in just his third game. He heads down to Amy Park. The rivalry against the Storm has been one of the best in the game recently with the Roosters. How do you think he'll handle that test on the edge? No doubt they're going to target him.
Yeah, well, Cronulla target him and most likely got the better of him early in the game. But I think the most impressive part of that, he didn't lose his head. He just got on with his job. And then when momentum turned, I thought Hargreaves had a lot to do with that when he come on the field, steadied things up a little bit, and I thought he started to get the advantage through the middle, and then Sam reacted to that. So I think at the moment they're a bit undercooked, the Roosters. Obviously Friendy's out, and they got a lot of blokes injured. So I think the new hooker, Ben Meshke, I think he got suspended. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, so he's out. So they're going pretty deep in to their number 9s. Sam Walker, can he win the day for the boys? I think if everyone else can do a great job, and I think Melbourne have got to have a bit of an off day, but I think there's not many. I think they're pretty much fully fit. I think I saw Branko Lee on the extended bench. I think Finucane's coming back soon. So it's a tough win down there, but you know what? They're pretty plucky, the Chooks, at the moment. They're playing with a lot of confidence, and they've got some experience on the outside edge who can score some great tries. So Melbourne want to be focused.
Do you think, Freddie, if this wasn't the Melbourne Storm the Roosters were playing this week, we might have seen Suwali playing the centres, Manu moved to 6 and maybe Hutchinson at 9?
Yeah, well, I know Robbo's confident that Manu can play 5'8", and that's the key. But I feel like the longer they can hold him off, naturally, the better. I don't think the age and all that has much to do with it, but he will bring a lot of attention. And I've got to say, with all the players out, they're sort of floating a little bit under the radar, the Chooks. They got dusted up by South, and it looked pretty resounding, that game. But I think everything they've done since shows a team that's working really hard. So I think Robbo likes the way the team's going at the moment.
Freddie, thanks so much for joining us on Inside the NRL. Continue living in paradise. It looks like a great backdrop up there.
I was going to go and feed the llamas there. They're sort of looking at me with one eye closed saying, come on, mate, give us something to eat.
All right, we better let you go then. The Blues coach and, of course, Channel 9 commentator Brad Fittler, thank you so much.
Good on you, fellas.
And, of course, you can catch Freddie and the gang through Thursday, Friday night footy, and, of course, Sunday afternoon. 100% Footy is back on Channel 9 tonight, 10:15 p.m. Make sure you have your hot chocolate or tea ready because they've got a special guest on the show, our very own Michael Chamis.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
But, of course...
Forget about Gus and Gal.
Way past your bedtime.
Forget about Gus and Gal. Geez, already sledging the team. All right, last year, Michael Maguire called for the end of the roller coaster in Tiger Town, but the ups and downs continue in season 2021. Another low on the weekend yesterday at Leichhardt, a loss to the Cowboys. As a result, the pressure on Luke Brooks continues to intensify. Michael, you had an article today talking about Luke Brooks and his future with the club. He's there until 2023 as it stands, but will he actually see out his contract?
My gut feel is no, to be honest with you. I think that the Tigers are starting to feel like Luke Brooks' time at the club is drawing to an end. Now, I wrote in the Sydney Morning Herald today that the club, the directors had an approach from someone, a high-profile person in the game, who approached them at half-time and said the coach is not the problem. Now, I think the jury's still out on Michael Maguire, whether he is or isn't the problem. You don't... obviously, it's an attitude thing with the Tigers at the moment, but perhaps you can argue, well, is that the coach's responsibility to have their heads right and ready to go? For Luke Brooks, however, I think Luke Brooks looks like someone who wants out as well. I feel as though he has been under so much pressure since he started his career as an 18-year-old, likened to Andrew Johns, the next Joey. I feel sorry for Luke Brooks. I think Phil Gould made the point in a tweet, I think Luke Brooks needs to move on from the Tigers for his own sake. He said that I think there was a tweet that the problem with the Tigers is not Luke Brooks. Maybe the Tigers are the problem for Luke Brooks, or something like that.
Is that similar to Sean Johnson being the face of the Warriors for so long and it kind of freed him of that pressure?
Yeah, in a sense, but you also, poor old Luke Brooks is a punching bag every single week, and I've had my shot when he hasn't played well, but you look at some of those highlights, that was a massive occasion not only for Luke Brooks wearing the number 7, but also that team yesterday. The team's got to have some sort of ownership about how they went to the field in the first half and how they didn't rise to the occasion for Luke Brooks or for themselves. So it's easy to always scapegoat the number 7 and the halves, and I understand that. I've been in that role, but sometimes we need to look across the whole 13 as well.
So how concerning is that on an emotional day, one of the most important days in the club's recent history, honouring Tom Raudonikis, that they couldn't aim up? It's
concerning for me because in previewing this game, I didn't actually get to see it, I listened to it, but I just thought it was a gimme for the Tigers. I thought everything, Leichhardt Oval, I hated playing there when I was in opposition, the dressing rooms, all that kind of stuff. I thought it was just tailor-made for a beautiful Sunday afternoon for them to come out, get the job done, and they showed some signs against Fightback, against the Parramatta Eels. They had a good win in Newcastle, but something's missing there. Something is missing.
Tell me if I'm wrong, Sowie. I think their roster is better than what it was 12 months ago.
Yes.
Yet they've gone backwards.
Why?
I don't know. If I knew, I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be with Michael Maguire in the coach's box. So, by the way, I did see Michael Maguire before the game yesterday. I spoke to him. It was about 4 hours before kick-off. He was watching Jersey Flegg. And I said, it should be an easy one today. And he's like, mate, these ones are the ones you worry about the most. And I think you're worried. He was worried before the game that his players wouldn't rise to the occasion, but they clearly didn't. OK, just a quick one. The booing at half-time, their team trailing by almost 20. Like it, don't like it? Oh... Yeah, I think... Play on? Yeah. Acceptable? Yeah. I've been booed. I think we were winning at half-time and I've been booed. I was just playing that bad. But I don't think as a player coming off yesterday in a Tigers jersey that you couldn't have expected anything less. Passionate fans, heightened emotions about the Tommy Raudonikis day and celebrating him, and they just didn't live up to it, and I thought you probably have to expect that. All right, plenty going on in the rugby league world, so we have to move on. It's now time for our casualty board, brought to you by Chemist Warehouse. And thankfully, this list isn't as big as it has been in previous weeks. The hardest hit the Broncos. Ben Teo will miss 12 weeks with a ruptured biceps. Manly got their first win of the season, but have lost Dylan Walker for an extended period and Jack Gajewski for the season. Josh Hodgson, he trained today despite injuring his hip against the Panthers on Friday night. He didn't complete every drill, but the Raiders
didn't even send him for scans and are hopeful he'll face the Eels this week. Sharks duo Wade Graham and Josh Dugan are in doubt, while Roosters hooker Freddie Lussick will miss 6 to 8 weeks after he had surgery today on a broken forearm. The Cowboys expect Jason Taumalolo to return this Sunday against the Bulldogs, while Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow needs scans after injuring his ankle yesterday. That, of course, is the Casualty Ward, brought to you by Chemist Warehouse. Right now, it's time for Hit or Miss. Of course, Anthony Milford, he has been dropped this week for the Broncos clash. The question, though, he won't be at the Broncos at the end of this year. So by the end of the year, he won't be a Bronco. Hit or miss? Hit for me. I think if you talk about Luke Brooks needing a fresh coat of paint somewhere else, Anthony Milford probably in the same boat. I'm just trying to, in pre-game, trying to work out where he might possibly end up. But, Kevy's put the... Last week it was about his contract, and then this week he's dropped as well, so the signs don't look great. So that before he won't even see out the year at the Broncos? Oh, well, I mean, Chamis was discussing before, half the contract's been paid, so he might even just be better off going this year and trying to get a little payout at the end of the year. I don't know.
If he's not part of Brisbane's plans going forward...
What are their plans, though?
Oh, who knows? They've got that.
They've picked two halfbacks. They're ruining young Dearden and Croft every single week.
I don't know what they're doing. Their roster is so skewed. The balance, can you believe Payne Haas is one of the lowest paid forwards at that club? Thomas Flegler's on more money than Payne Haas. Like the way that the salary cap is done at the moment at Brisbane, it's just leaving them in all sorts of problems. I think if Anthony Milford is not wanted, and there's a club with some injuries come finals time, you've got till August 1. I wouldn't be surprised if Anthony Milford slots into a number 6 role somewhere just as a risk because someone needs to fill a spot. So you're also a hit, saying he won't be there by the end of the year? I'm a hit.
I know we're tight on time. Are they better this year with Kevy, or are they better off without Anthony Seibold?
Same thing.
Yeah.
All right, Preston Campbell, Matt Rogers, Scott Prince, Luke Bailey, Greg Bird, Ashley Harrison, Nate Miles, AJ Brimson, Mal Meninga off-field. What they all have in common, they're all signings for the Gold Coast Titans. The statement, David Fifita is the best ever Titans signing.
Hit, tick, tick, tick. Get some sound effects behind that. What a performance the other day. This is, talk about bang for buck. He was fantastic. I thought he was the best player on the field, and the hype is starting to be real. I was worried, and I still am a little bit worried about how they play to him at times, but Jamal Fogarty, Ash Taylor, if they can get it right, he is a one-man wrecking ball on that left edge, and they all look like they feed off him. Best signing. Michael.
Missed that one. Hit for best signing for MC Hammer's fantasy team. Smashed it as captain on the weekend. I'm very happy with that.
Enough about yourself. You're on 100% footy tonight. We've given you your plug.
I say miss. I'm going to go with Tino. I just think, I said at the start of the year, I think Tino, value for money, what they paid for him compared to what they paid for Fifita. Big Tino fan.
Tino who, sorry?
Faisal Malawi.
OK, good attempt.
I was practising before the game.
Yeah, you're going to need a bit more practice needed. Following the sad passing of Tommy Raudonikis, 2GB host Mark Levy put something out on Twitter which caught my eye. He said the State of Origin Shield should be renamed the Beatson Raudonikis Shield. Sowie.
Hit.
No brainer.
No brainer.
Yeah.
Why would it mean so much to them?
Well, they made it Origin. That's as simple as that. I don't think you overcomplicate these things. You look at Artie there and Tommy and how much respect they have within the game. I think it'd be a fantastic addition. Yeah, we've got the Wally Lewis medal. Yeah, why not now? We make it the Raudonikis Beatson. Someone got punched in the face after scoring a try there. I wouldn't have played ever again.
No way. All right, it's time to move on. They were both 2 champions, and our thoughts are with the Raudonikis family and everybody that knew him, which were a lot of people in the rugby league circle. Michael Chamis, your duties for champ or chump this week?
Yes, disagreeing with Sierra before the show. I'm going to go with the Panthers fans as my champs of the week. I was on the hill on Friday night watching that game against the Raiders, and little 5-year-old son asking what was going on. He's saying, why are we doing the Viking clap? I joined in. I love it. I love this. Yeah, it just builds rivalries. I like when Michael Ennis did it a few years ago and taunted the Raiders fans, and I love that we were, by we I meant the game, we're watching that.
You will not be welcome.
We at the start of the show, the Dragons, Parramatta, he says it when Brad Arthur gives him an interview. Mitchell Pearce gives him an interview, he says we, and now he's a Penrith Panthers fan.
I was on the hill. I wasn't
You will not be welcome back into Canberra or Ricky Stewart's office anytime soon for a one-on-one.
I know, we were arguing about Tarpanay, I'm fine with it.
I'm off the Stephen Crichton Tarpanay thing. Nah.
Okay, you have your week for Champ or Chump in a couple of weeks. What about you've dumped the Chump of the week? You've gone with another
I'm
Champ.
going with second Champ. The Glenmore Park Brumbies under sixes. Going with the little fella's 4-try performance on the weekend. I don't know if we've got any vision of it. Yes, we do here. The carry on after the game, I've taught him well. Drew the line here against the Doonside Roos. And the celebration after the game, I was happy with that one.
Did he give Dad an interview after the game?
$20 I have to give him.
$20?
$5 a try.
Hey, Ollie,
I'm lying.
Dad's earning a lot more than that, mate. Get 10 a try.
50 big ones,
Yeah,
surely
50.
for a try.
50, or pass the ball, share it with your teammates. 4
All
tries.
right, I reckon Chamis is my chump because of his carry-on, saying we about everything.
Yeah.
On 100% footy tonight. Seriously. Don't forget to tune in to NRL Teams tomorrow afternoon. Neve Owens will be joined by Brett Kamali and Robbie Farah. He is away, so Luke Lewis will bring you the latest team news from round 6 as soon as the team lists drop. They're on air from 3:55pm Australian Eastern Standard Time before the teams are officially in at 4 o'clock. That wraps things up. Michael, good luck tonight on 100% Footy. I'll be tuning in.
Thanks, mate.
For a big show.
Just be yourself, mate.
Jamie,
Yes.
well done. Go the Dragons, eh?
Another big week.
We.
Next.
Jeez, I can't deal with that anymore. Thank you once again for joining us at home. We can't wait for the footy this weekend, especially that match between the Storm and Roosters.
Another great chapter. This will be a game of the highest quality. You can just feel the anticipation in the air tonight.